Enlightenment, known in Sanskrit as Bodhi, is not some distant concept as many people think. When we speak of enlightenment, we often picture the Buddha sitting beneath the Bodhi tree, attaining ultimate truth and cutting through all ignorance. Because of this image, many assume that enlightenment is only for the Buddha, the Arahants, or great Bodhisattvas, while ordinary people like us can only look up in hopeless longing. But in truth, according to the Buddha's teachings, enlightenment is never locked away from anyone. He clearly affirmed, all sentient beings have Buddha nature. Buddha nature is the seed of enlightenment inherent in each person. It's not given by anyone, nor can it ever be lost. The only thing separating us from enlightenment is ignorance, the thick clouds of craving, anger, delusion, ego clinging, and endless illusions. Simply put, enlightenment is not a mystical state. It is total awakening. A moment when the mind becomes utterly clear, seeing the true nature of all things, free from distorted views. An enlightened person does not become someone else. They simply return to their true nature, to the pure mind that has never been born or destroyed. So why do so many people believe enlightenment must wait for another life? Because they think heavy karma drags them from lifetime to lifetime, and as ordinary beings, we are drowning in endless desires and defilements. But remember, the Buddha himself was once just an ordinary human being like us. Because he refused to accept a life bound by suffering, he found the path of liberation, and that means anyone who practices diligently with enough mindfulness and wisdom can touch enlightenment in this very lifetime. Enlightenment does not require you to hide away in the deep forest or abandon all your worldly ties. Many believe that to awaken, one must renounce everything, live in isolation, and cut off from the world. But if you understand correctly, the most important letting go is letting go of ignorance, letting go of the mind that clings to the false self. Many Zen masters live among people, working and facing daily challenges, yet their minds remain unbound. Like a lotus blooming in sullied and muddy water. The path to this experience is none other than practicing mindfulness and insight. The Buddha gave us the precious Eightfold Path, a compass for practitioners to gradually purify body and mind. Right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Each factor is like a solid brick laying the foundation for a life of awakening. Start with the simplest thing, mindfulness. Mindfulness isn't about sitting rigidly for hours. It's being fully aware in every moment. When you wash the dishes, know you are washing the dishes. When you eat, know you are eating. When anger arises, know anger has arisen, but do not identify with it. Gradually, you will see that every emotion comes and goes. Every thought arises and fades, but pure awareness remains the silent witness. Many people ask, how will I know if I am enlightened? The truth is, enlightenment is not a destination with a certificate waiting for you. It is an ongoing unfolding. A clearer seeing, a freer heart, a mind less entangled than yesterday. Each time your mind clings less, suffers less, discriminates less, that is already a step on the path of awakening. Enlightenment is not something you will reach in a distant future. It is something you can touch the moment you release ignorance. Each mindful breath, each thought of compassion, each conscious choice you make, these are seeds that nourish the flower of awakening. So don't wait for another life. Don't expect a miracle to descend from the sky. Start here, now. Sit down, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, where is my mind at this moment? Is it wandering in past regrets or future worries, or is it resting here in the present? The moment you return to your breath, to your steps, to your smile, you are already touching the door of enlightenment. You do not need to become someone else. You only need to be yourself, your most mindful, liberated self. That is the greatest gift the Buddha left for us, the truth that enlightenment is a power already living within every heart. If today you hear these words, trust that you already have the seed within you. And if you practice every day, watering it with mindfulness and compassion, the day the flower of enlightenment blooms will no longer be far away. May you walk steadily on this path of returning to your true self. Keep this faith alive. Enlightenment is not far away. It lives wherever you are awake. If you find this message helpful, don't forget to subscribe to this channel to continue walking together on this journey of mindfulness and true inner freedom. Part 1: Enlightenment is not a miracle. Many people, when they hear the word enlightenment, imagine it as something mystical and magical, a sudden blessing from a divine being, granted only to the chosen few. But at the heart of the Buddhist teachings, enlightenment is not supernatural, not out of reach, and certainly not a gift someone else can hand you. By its nature, enlightenment is complete awakening, an awakening that lets you see reality as it truly is without the veil of illusions. It's like a person who has been lost in a deep sleep, dreaming both sweet dreams and nightmares, suddenly waking up to realize none of it was real. In that moment, the way they see the world changes completely. No more fear, no more desperate clinging to things that never truly existed. At the core of enlightenment are 3 timeless truths the Buddha revealed. 1. Everything is impermanent, from the breath you inhale and exhale, the dewdrop on a leaf, the wind brushing your hair, to mountains, oceans, and this vast universe. Nothing lasts forever. Impermanence is not a gloomy idea. It is the truth that frees us. Without impermanence, flowers wouldn't bloom, fruits wouldn't ripen, children wouldn't grow. Because everything changes, life renews itself. Yet when we fail to see impermanence, we suffer as we try to hold on to what we simply can't keep. Youth, beauty, love, wealth, status, ... too. There is no fixed self. We like to think there is a solid me that is separate and permanent, controlling everything. But the Buddha showed us that what we call self is only a collection of countless elements. Body, mind, feelings, thoughts, each one constantly changing, never the same. Just look at your emotions. Are they the same this morning as they were last night? Are your thoughts today the same as 5 years ago? Even your body's cells are always being replaced. So what is this I really? Seeing this clearly frees us from clinging to a rigid ego, the root of so much suffering, conflict, and fear. 3. All attachment leads to suffering. When we don't see impermanence and no self, we cling. We want to hold on tightly to what is pleasant and push away what is unpleasant. And so craving, anger, fear, and worrying keep arising, driving us around in endless circles of birth and death. Attachment can be so subtle we don't notice it. A compliment, a glance, an expectation. If we cling to it, it becomes a chain that binds the heart, Understanding these three truths, a practitioner starts to transform. Enlightenment is not a miracle that makes you superhuman. It's the deep insight into suffering and its roots. When you truly see, you naturally let go. When you let go, your mind is free. When the mind is free, life becomes lighter and more joyful. Enlightenment is not separate from daily life. You don't have to search for it on snowy mountain peaks or in hidden caves. Even in the noisy city, in the rush of everyday life, the chance to wake up is always here. Ask yourself, this morning, did you really know you were eating when you ate? When you drank tea, did you feel the warmth, the fragrance, or did you just drink automatically? When you walk, do you feel your feet touching the ground? Each moment you come back to the present and live fully, you are taking the first steps toward enlightenment. Our greatest ignorance is letting life slip by on autopilot, reacting out of habit, never really seeing. We hear words and react immediately. We see something and instantly judge it. Awakening means pausing, observing, seeing everything arise and pass away without getting swept away. A single moment of awakening can change your whole life. Many people think it takes decades of practice to reach enlightenment. This is true, but also not the whole truth. Yes, deep and stable enlightenment needs time, training, and steady practice, but it is not some distant prize waiting at the end. Throughout Buddhist history, countless people awakened in a single moment. Hearing a line of scripture, seeing a falling leaf, listening to a bird's song, and their delusion shattered like a thin shell. So you don't need to wait for a special day. You don't need a miracle to descend from the sky. The true miracle is your mindful breath right now, your clear seeing right now. The moment you see impermanence and no self, the moment you drop even one clinging thought, one burst of anger, one fear, that is the seed of enlightenment sprouting in you. The Buddha said, "Be a lamp unto yourself." He did not hand out miracles. He handed us the lamp. Wisdom, the rest is up to each of us, step by mindful step, to light our own way with that lamp of awareness. So if someone asks you, what is enlightenment? Just smile and say, enlightenment is not a magic escape from reality. It's the clear eyes to see that reality itself is already miraculous. If you find these reflections meaningful, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so we can keep nourishing mindfulness and grow the seeds of awakening in the heart of daily life. Part 2. Everyone has Buddha nature. The Buddha once taught, all sentient beings have Buddha nature, but because of ignorance, they do not see it. This simple sentence, if deeply understood, is the key that unlocks the greatest door to true spiritual freedom. Because if you believe enlightenment is only for a special few, you close off your own path before you even begin. Buddha nature isn't something distant or mystical. It is your natural state of pure awareness, the seed of awakening already within each person. From the moment we're born, we carry this jewel in our hearts, like a precious gem buried under layers of thick mud. This gem never disappears, never loses its brilliance. It's just temporarily hidden by the dirt of ignorance. The Buddha never positioned himself as a god handing out blessings. He was the first to find this hidden jewel within himself, clean away the mud of delusion, and then show others the path to do the same. If someone asks, if Buddha nature is already here, why do we still suffer? The answer is ignorance. Ignorance means not seeing reality clearly, not seeing impermanence, not seeing known self, not seeing that all clinging leads to suffering. From ignorance comes craving, our endless desire to hold on to what we like and push away what we dislike. Then comes ego clinging, attaching to the idea of me, mine, myself together. These layers form a thick wall that hides the light of Buddha nature inside us. Imagine standing in a dark room for years. You start believing the darkness is normal, permanent. Maybe you even fear the light. But if you crack open the door just a sliver, a beam of light streams in. Then you see darkness was never powerful on its own. It only exists where there is no light. Buddha nature is the same. You don't need to create it. You just need to uncover it as ignorance wears thin. Buddha nature does not discriminate. It makes no difference whether you are rich or poor, educated or uneducated, powerful or powerless. A king has the same Buddha nature as a beggar. A brilliant scholar has the same Buddha nature as someone who has never learned to read. The only difference is who has enough faith, diligence, and wisdom to wash away the ignorance covering it. There is a famous story in the Buddhist tradition about a simple village woman who never learned to read but recited the Buddha's name every day with deep sincerity. Her pure heart and mindful presence brought her peace and clarity that many learned monks still struggle to find. This reminds us, worldly knowledge, degrees, and books can support practice, but Buddha nature reveals itself only when the heart is pure and free from pride and attachment. Buddha nature is not separate from daily life. We often think awakening only happens to monks deep in the mountains or hermits living far from the nose of the world. But actually, every word, every action, every thought in ordinary life is an opportunity for Buddha nature to shine through. When you truly listen to someone with an open heart, without judging or interrupting, you are living from Buddha nature. When you catch your anger before it becomes hurtful words, you are watering the seed of awakening. When you simply know you are breathing, just that, you are already different from most people who move through life without ever noticing they are alive. That pause, that moment of seeing clearly, is the light of Buddha nature shining through from within. Patience is essential. The layers of ignorance built up over many lifetimes don't dissolve overnight. Think of a mirror covered in thick dust. You can't wipe it clean in one swipe. You have to be patient and gently polish away layer by layer with morality, concentration, and wisdom. Keeping precepts stops you from creating new harmful karma. Developing concentration calms your scattered mind. Cultivating wisdom helps you see the true nature of things. These three are like keys unlocking the locks of ignorance. Don't rush. Don't get discouraged when you notice your own greed, anger, or delusion still appear. Simply seeing it, accepting it, and releasing it. That is already a step toward letting your Buddha nature shine. Think of a lotus blooming in muddy water. The thicker the mud, the stronger and more beautiful the flower, no matter how thick ignorance may be. If you have faith and keep practicing, the light inside you will break through even brighter. The Buddha never hid this truth. He taught clearly, all beings are equal in their capacity for enlightenment. The only reason someone isn't awakened yet is not because they lack blessings, but because they haven't recognized the treasure they already hold. Buddha nature is not far away. It is you. All the pain you carry is just a temporary cloud. Beneath that pain is a crystal clear mind, silent and untouched. Whether you are crying, angry or anxious, the deepest part of you remains pure, waiting for you to come home to it. So don't search for Buddha nature somewhere far away. Don't wait for someone else to give you awakening. The Buddha has shown the path and handed you the lamp, but the steps must be yours. Right now, try this. Pause for a moment. Take a slow, deep breath and let it out gently. Let your worries, anger, and confusion drift by like clouds across the sky. Behind those clouds, the sky is vast and clear. Your Buddha nature is the same, never gone, just waiting for you to trust it and return. Part 3. Examples of enlightenment in this lifetime. When people hear the word enlightenment, they often assume it's some far-off state, reserved only for extraordinary beings who meditate in deep forests or remote mountains for decades, maybe even lifetimes. But throughout Buddhist history, countless real stories show one simple truth. Enlightenment is not limited by social status, education, age, or whether someone is ordained or not. One of the most vivid examples is the sixth patriarch Huineng. Huineng was an illiterate woodcutter who made a living chopping firewood to support his elderly mother. One day, while delivering wood to a customer, he happened to hear a line from the Diamond Sutra, "Let your mind arise without dwelling anywhere." And that very moment, Huineng awakened to the truth of non-attachment and saw through to his own pure nature, free from clinging to any form or concept. Later, he became the sixth patriarch of Chan Zen Buddhism in China, leaving behind a living tradition that still inspires millions today. Huineng's story shows that enlightenment does not demand scholarly knowledge or elaborate rituals. What it truly requires is a humble, clear heart and the right conditions for the seed of Buddha nature to break through the soul. In the Zen tradition, it wasn't only great masters who awakened. Countless ordinary people did too. Farmers, carpenters, merchants, some awakened with a single sound, like a bird's song or a shout from their teacher. Some saw a falling flower, heard a simple question, and in that instant, the fog of delusion vanished. The transmission of the lamp, a classic Zen text, preserves stories like these, filled with simple yet profound moments. A student once asked his teacher, "Master, what is Buddha?" The teacher replied, "Did you eat your meal today?" "Yes, Master." "Then go wash your bowl." At first glance, this seems trivial, but to the student whose mind was ready, these plain words revealed the truth. Buddha is nowhere else but in this very moment, in the simplest acts: eating, washing a bowl, breathing, walking. There's also the story of an elderly woman who sold steamed buns at the market. She had never read a sutra, never studied philosophy, but every day she worked honestly, recited the Buddha's name with devotion, and treated others with kindness. When she died, she passed peacefully with a serene smile. Her life reminded everyone around her that enlightenment is real, and it can bloom right in the heart of ordinary life. These stories are not just ancient legends. Even today, countless lay practitioners, people with jobs, families, and busy city lives, still experience glimpses of awakening through steady meditation and mindful living. It might be as simple as catching a burst of anger before it turns into harsh words, or watching fear dissolve like morning mist, or seeing a fallen leaf and realizing impermanence so deeply that the heart feels suddenly weightless and free. Moments like these may be small, but each one is a seed of awakening. When nourished with right practice, right mindfulness, and humility, that seed grows stronger, becoming a sturdy Bodhi tree within the mind. Enlightenment is not something to boast about, nor is it a badge of spiritual status. The deeper the awakening, the more humble a person becomes. Seeing clearly means realizing how small the self really is, how nothing truly belongs to me. Those who are truly awakened do not go around saying, "I am enlightened." They live simply, speak little, move freely like the wind. Look closer, and you'll see that every mindful moment is itself a taste of enlightenment. Not everyone will experience a sudden, great awakening like Huinen's, but each time you break through a layer of ignorance, a greedy habit, a stubborn attachment, a false idea, you take a real step toward true freedom. So what helps these seeds of awakening blossom? Nothing more than three essentials: right action, right mindfulness, and humility. Right action means living ethically, keeping precepts, doing good, not causing harm. Right mindfulness means staying present, recognizing thoughts and feelings as they arise, not letting the mind drift unconsciously. Humility means remembering you're just a tiny speck in this vast universe, always willing to listen, learn, and drop your pride. With these three, any place can become a practice ground. The market is a meditation hall, the office is a training field. Even washing dishes or sweeping the yard, if done with an aware and settled mind, each drop of water, each speck of dust reflects the clear light of Buddha nature. So never believe that enlightenment belongs only to ancient masters in robes. It belongs to no one and everyone. It waits for anyone willing to trust, to be patient, and to return to the simplicity of clear seeing. And when you do, you realize the Bodhi tree has always been rooted in your own heart. Part 4. Why do we think enlightenment takes countless lifetimes? One of the most common beliefs among people who first encounter Buddhist teachings is this: to reach enlightenment, you must practice for countless lifetimes. It sounds reasonable. After all, how could something so profound and liberating be achieved in just one short human life? The idea that it takes endless rebirths to cultivate enough merit and wisdom feels safer, somehow, than imagining we could awaken here and now. But the truth the Buddha pointed to is far more immediate and, for many, a bit unsettling. He taught that while it's true we carry the seeds of karma and habit from many past lives, the moment of awakening can happen in this very life, even in this very breath, if the conditions are ripe. Yes, we do accumulate causes and conditions over many births: good deeds, ethical living, kindness, patience, generosity. All of these build the fertile ground where the seed of wisdom can sprout. But the final spark, the moment of clear seeing that shatters delusion, doesn't depend strictly on the number of lifetimes behind you. It depends on whether, right now, your mind is truly ready to see. Think about a matchstick. You can gather dry wood for years, stacking it carefully, but unless there's a flame, nothing will burn. In the same way, lifetimes of good actions and merit are like dry wood. They prepare the fuel, but wisdom, insight, and mindful awareness are the flame that lights the fire. Without the flame, the wood just sits there, no matter how much you have. This is why the Buddha emphasized direct insight, not just accumulating rituals or good deeds for some future rebirth, but cultivating the clear seeing of impermanence, anicca, suffering, dukkha, and non-self anatta in this moment. These are not abstract doctrines to memorize. They are living truths to be observed directly in your breath, your body, your thoughts, your relationships, your daily struggles. When you truly see impermanence, you see that every thought, every feeling, every situation is in constant motion. Nothing can be pinned down. Pleasure fades. Pain fades. Youth fades. Even this body is aging in every moment. Seeing impermanence deeply doesn't lead to despair. It leads to freedom. Because when you stop grasping for what can't stay, your heart relaxes. You let go when you see suffering. You understand that clinging, craving, resisting, these are the roots of all the pain we create for ourselves. It's not life itself that tortures us, but our refusal to accept change, our desperate need to hold or push away. When you see non-self, you see there is no fixed I inside this body-mind. What we call me is just a dance of conditions, thoughts, memories, sensations, emotions, constantly arising and fading. The moment you glimpse this directly, even for a heartbeat, something loosens. The heavy burden of protecting this I starts to fall away. The depth of this seeing, not the passage of time, is what makes the difference. This is why throughout Buddhist history, people have awakened suddenly. A line from a sutra, a sound, a mundane moment can break open the mind. For some, it happens while sitting silently in meditation for years. For others, it's triggered in a flash by an everyday experience. A leaf falling, a bird singing, a bowl dropping and breaking on the floor. One Zen master described it like this: a single thought, deeply seen, can dissolve 10,000 lifetimes of ignorance. What does this mean? It means the seed of awakening has always been here. You don't need to build it piece by piece over eons. You just need to clear away the illusions that cover it. Of course, this doesn't mean effort is pointless or that we can skip practice. If the wood is wet, a spark won't light it. That's why moral discipline, generosity, kindness, and daily mindfulness are so important. They dry the wood. They make the mind calm, soft, and ready to catch fire. But the fire itself, that spark of insight, comes not from blind effort or counting the years you've been practicing, but from seeing clearly, deeply, honestly, right now. So instead of asking, how many lifetimes will it take, ask, how fully am I seeing my life today? Am I awake to my breath? Or am I lost in autopilot? Am I really listening when someone speaks? Or am I just waiting for my turn to reply? Am I clinging to ideas about myself that cause me pain, even when life keeps showing me they aren't real? If you can pause and look honestly, even for a moment, you plant the conditions for awakening right here. The belief that enlightenment requires endless lifetimes can be comforting. It lets us push responsibility into a vague future. But the Buddha's invitation is far more radical. Come home now. This moment, this breath, this thought passing through your mind right now is the gate to freedom. Whether it takes a lifetime or a single second depends not on time, but on the courage and clarity with which you see. When that seeing is deep enough, even one breath can reveal the boundless sky of the awakened mind. Part 5: Signs You're Getting Closer to Enlightenment. For many people new to Buddhism, enlightenment often sounds like a sudden, thunderous miracle, a single moment of cosmic revelation that drops out of nowhere. And yes, there are stories of sudden breakthroughs, like a Zen monk awakening with one shout or a single line of scripture. But these moments don't arise from nowhere. They blossom from countless small shifts that soften the heart and clear the mind, often unfolding quietly over years of honest practice and reality. Enlightenment is less like lightning striking and more like a seed sprouting through the soul. So gradual and silent at first that you might overlook the signs that your own mind is changing. So what are these subtle yet powerful signs that you're drawing nearer to the freedom the Buddha spoke of? 1. You feel less pulled around by craving, anger, and delusion in everyday life. Our minds are like dry leaves in the wind, tossed here and there by desire, resentment, jealousy, and fear. One sign that the seed of awakening is sprouting is that you notice these winds lose some of their force. Cravings still come, of course. You still want pleasure, comfort, recognition. Anger still flickers up when things don't go your way, but you see it sooner. You catch yourself reaching for something you don't really need. You hear your mind planning an argument, but instead of feeding it, you breathe and watch it dissolve. This doesn't mean you're immune to emotions. It means you're no longer helplessly swept away. 2. Praise and blame lose their grip on you. A mind soaked in delusion clings desperately to praise and shrinks in pain at criticism. Every compliment is like a sugar rush for the ego. Every harsh word feels like a wound, but as wisdom deepens, you begin to see that both praise and blame are fleeting shadows, conditioned by others' perceptions, moods, and misunderstandings. You start to taste the freedom of not being chained to other people's approval. You work, speak, and live more from your own clear intention, not from a constant hunger for validation. Whether people praise you or gossip behind your back, it touches you, but it doesn't control you. You become a little like the vast sky. Thoughts, words, and opinions pass through, but they don't stick. 3. There are moments of deep, causeless peace. One of the clearest signs that awakening is drawing near is a kind of peace that appears for no obvious reason. Maybe you're washing dishes, sitting in traffic, walking under trees, and suddenly your heart feels open, quiet, unbothered. It's not because you achieved something or got what you wanted. It's simply a moment when the mind drops its usual clinging, even if it only lasts a few seconds. You taste something profoundly fresh, a stillness that doesn't depend on conditions. You realize you can be content without needing anything to be different, for impermanence becomes obvious, not just an idea. You've read about impermanence, Annika. You know intellectually that everything changes, but when the mind ripens, impermanence stops being just a concept. It becomes a direct perception that transforms how you relate to life. You see aging on your own face or in your parents' hands, and instead of panic or denial, there's a soft clarity. Of course, this is the nature of things. You watch good moments fade, and instead of clinging, you cherish them as they are. You watch painful moments fade, and instead of despairing, you trust they won't last either. When impermanence is clear, fear loses its grip. You still care, but you cling less. You love deeply, but with open hands. 5. You care more about what frees you than what entertains you. Another sign that your mind is waking up is that your priorities shift. Senseless distractions, gossip, shallow drama, endless scrolling begin to feel hollow. You find yourself drawn more to silence, to practices that nourish your heart, to people and teachings that deepen your understanding. This doesn't mean you have to live like a hermit or reject the world, but you sense what truly feeds your peace and what only feeds your restlessness. Little by little, you choose differently, not because someone told you to, but because your own heart wants freedom more than escape. 6. You begin to trust your own inner teacher. At first, you may lean heavily on books, teachers, or communities to guide you. This is good and necessary. But as insight grows, you discover an inner voice, a quiet, honest knowing that whispers what is true and what is false for you. This voice is not the ego's chatter. It's not a rigid opinion. It's more like a lamp that lights your next step. You respect the words of others, but you're not blindly attached to them. You read scriptures, but you don't worship them as frozen truths. You see the Buddha's teachings as tools pointing you back to your own direct experience. Here, now, in your own breath, your own life, the seed is sprouting. None of these signs mean you are fully enlightened in the sense of a perfected being. They mean your roots are growing deeper in the Dharma. They mean the seed of awakening is not dead or dormant. It's alive, pushing up through the soil of your habits. There will still be setbacks. You may still lose your temper, grasp at old cravings, feel pride or fear, but something has changed. You know it, you see it, and each time you see it, you're less trapped by it. That simple recognition is powerful. It's how the shell cracks, how the sprout breaks through. So if you notice these signs, treasure them, be patient. Water the seed with right effort, right mindfulness, and compassion for yourself and others. Enlightenment is not a prize waiting at the end of the road. It is the quiet, steady flowering of each step you take with open eyes. Part 6. The Path to Enlightenment. For all its profound depth, the Buddha's path to enlightenment is beautifully simple and practical. He never promised salvation through worship or blind belief. Instead, he offered a clear, step-by-step path that any sincere person can follow. Here and now, in the midst of daily life, he summed it up in 3 timeless pillars: morality, sila, concentration, samadhi, and wisdom, prajna. These 3 are like the legs of a tripod. Remove one, and the whole structure collapses. Keep them balanced, and they hold up the entire journey toward freedom. 1. Morality, sila, the foundation of a clean life. Morality is the ground on which everything else grows. In Buddhism, it isn't about rigid commandments or trying to appear holy. It's about living in a way that causes the least harm to yourself and to others. When you keep your actions and speech clean, your heart becomes lighter, you sleep well at night, your mind is less agitated by guilt or regret, and you build trust with the people around you. At its core, morality means practicing the 5 precepts: not killing, respecting life in all its forms, not stealing, respecting what belongs to others, not engaging in sexual misconduct, respecting relationships and trust, not lying, respecting truth, not using intoxicants that cloud the mind, respecting your own clarity. Of course, these are not rigid fences to shame you when you fail. They're guides to remind you every action plants seeds. When you live ethically, you plant seeds of peace, trust, and goodwill. When you break them carelessly, you plant seeds of suffering that will eventually return to you. 2. Concentration, samadhi. the stillness that calms the storm. The second pillar is concentration, the art of steadying the mind. Without concentration, morality alone can feel dry, and wisdom remains out of reach. Most people live like a cup of muddy water, constantly stirred up by endless thoughts, worries, cravings, and fears. Concentration is like letting that cup sit still. The mud settles, the water clears, and you can finally see through it. Meditation is the tool here. There are many forms: mindfulness of breathing, walking meditation, loving kindness meditation, but they all share the same aim: training your mind to rest on one thing, again and again, until it learns how to stay calm, clear, and collected. A mind that can't concentrate is like a flickering candle in the wind. It can't light up anything. But when concentration deepens, the mind becomes like a steady flame, bright enough to illuminate even the darkest corners of ignorance. 3. Wisdom prajna, the clear seeing that frees. The third pillar is wisdom, the crown jewel of the Buddhist path. If morality is the ground and concentration is the stillness, wisdom is the clear seeing that cuts through illusion. This wisdom is not intellectual knowledge. You can read hundreds of books about Buddhism and still live in confusion. True wisdom comes when you see reality directly, not as you wish it were, but as it actually is. You see that all things are impermanent. Nothing lasts. Everything changes. You see that all things are unsatisfactory when clung to. No thing, no relationship, no status can give you permanent peace. You see that what you call self is not solid. It's just a flow of conditions coming and going. When this insight ripens, it doesn't make you cold or detached from life. On the contrary, it frees you to live fully. You don't cling to moments, people, or things in desperation. You love, you care, you engage, but with open hands, not tight fists. You don't have to abandon the world. One of the greatest misunderstandings is that you must run away from society to find enlightenment. It's true that monastics devote their whole lives to this path, and their example is precious. But the Buddhist teachings were never only for monks and nuns. They are for farmers, merchants, parents, workers, anyone willing to look inward. You don't have to flee to a cave or wear robes. Your real practice is in the everyday, being mindful while washing dishes, speaking truthfully when gossip tempts you, pausing to breathe instead of snapping in anger, giving generously even when no one is watching, sitting quietly with your breath, even for a few minutes a day. These simple actions water the seed of awakening. Little by little, your heart grows more peaceful. Your mind becomes clearer, your actions cause less harm and more good, and your insight into life's true nature deepens on its own. Not by force, but by natural unfolding. A path for ordinary people, an ordinary life in the end. The Buddhist path is not about becoming superhuman. It's about becoming truly, fully human, awake to the miracle of each moment, free from the heavy chains of craving and delusion. It doesn't matter if you fall down along the way, everyone does. The point is to stand back up, remember the 3 pillars: morality, concentration, and wisdom, and keep walking. This is how the seed of enlightenment grows. Quietly, persistently, in the middle of your daily life. Not somewhere far away, not in another lifetime, but here, exactly where you are, breath by breath, step by step. May your path be steady, your mind clear, and your heart fearless enough to see things as they truly are. Part 7. You can awaken in this very lifetime. If there is one message that shines through every word the Buddha ever spoke, it's this: awakening is possible for anyone. Here, now, in this very life. Yet, despite hearing this again and again, many people secretly believe it's not true for them. Maybe they think enlightenment is only for monks in remote monasteries. Maybe they think it's only for brilliant minds, spiritual geniuses, or people who were somehow born closer to the light. Or maybe they simply think, I'm too flawed, too distracted, too ordinary. I'll never be ready. But here's the simple truth. These beliefs are exactly what keep you from seeing clearly. Every time you tell yourself, I'm not good enough, or I'll never get there, you strengthen the very ignorance of vidya that the Buddha urged us to uproot. Doubt and self-judgment are subtle forms of clinging to a story about who you are and what you can't do. The irony is, the more you cling to this small self, the further you drift from the freedom you seek. Enlightenment is not a prize for the perfect. Many people imagine enlightenment as a finish line you reach when you're flawless, perfectly moral, endlessly patient, forever calm. But look closer at the lives of the great awakened ones, and you'll see they did not become enlightened because they perfected themselves first. They awakened because they saw through the illusion of needing to be perfect at all. Awakening does not come because you've polished your ego to shine brighter. It comes when you see through the ego altogether. The self you're trying so hard to improve is the same self that must be let go. The moment you realize this, even for a heartbeat, the heavy burden of becoming someone else falls away. What it really takes. So what does it take? Courage, honesty, a willingness to look inward without flinching. You don't have to shave your head, abandon your family, or run away from the world. You don't have to chant mantras all day or sit cross-legged for 12 hours straight. You simply have to sit down or stand or walk and look directly at your own mind. See how it spins stories. Watch how it clings and resists. Notice how thoughts and feelings arise and pass completely out of your control. See the moments when you react automatically and the moments when you pause and respond with awareness instead. This is how awakening grows, not in some far-off mystical realm, but in the raw, ordinary moments of your daily life. A moment is enough. One of the great Zen masters said, a single moment of true seeing is worth more than 1,000 years of blind practice. If just once you see clearly that your thoughts are not you, that your emotions are weather passing through a vast sky, that the self you protect so fiercely is just a bundle of memories and habits, that one glimpse cracks the shell of ignorance. From there, everything changes. Maybe you don't become fully enlightened overnight. Few people do. But you've tasted freedom. You know it's real. You trust that your Buddha nature is not something to create, but something to uncover. Facing yourself is the hardest and most beautiful work. So what stands in the way? Mostly our fear of turning inward. It is so much easier to stay busy, blame the world, or search for answers outside ourselves. But the Buddha's invitation is always the same. Stop, sit, look, not to punish yourself for your flaws, but to see them for what they are, impermanent, conditioned, not truly you. When you look honestly, old illusions start to crumble. You see how much pain comes from trying to protect a self that doesn't really exist. You see how much energy goes into craving things that never truly satisfy. And when you see this, you begin to let go, not because a teacher told you to, but because clinging makes no sense anymore. Ordinary people, extraordinary freedom. History is full of ordinary people who awakened right in the middle of messy, complicated lives. Farmers, soldiers, merchants, mothers, beggars. All of them had one thing in common. They dared to face themselves fully. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They didn't wait for another lifetime. They trusted that the seeds of awakening were already inside them, and they watered those seeds with mindful living, ethical action, and courageous self-inquiry. It begins now. You don't have to wait until you fix yourself to start. You don't have to be anyone special. In fact, your ordinariness is your greatest advantage. When you drop the idea that you have to be someone else, wiser, calmer, more spiritual, you come home to the only place enlightenment has ever been possible, this moment. So watch your mind today. See how it wants to wander and cling. Gently bring it back. Be honest about your attachments, your fears, your hopes. Breathe into them, hold them with compassion. And when the voice inside says, "I'll never be ready," smile at it, because that voice is just another passing cloud. Awakening isn't somewhere far away. It's right here, quietly waiting for you to notice that you've always been free to let go. When you dare to drop the idea of a fixed self, even for a single breath, you have already stepped onto the timeless path that so many before you have walked. The path is simple. One honest look, one mindful breath, one clear moment at a time. You don't have to wait for another life. You don't even have to wait for tomorrow. The gate is open now. Walk through. May this video remind you that enlightenment is not something far away, reserved only for saints or monks on distant mountains. It is not a privilege handed out by some divine lottery. It is your own deepest potential, waiting quietly beneath the nose of daily life, ready to be nourished and awakened. Many people spend their whole lives searching for meaning out there in books, gurus, achievements, or distant promises of future rebirths. But the Buddha's invitation was never about chasing something outside of yourself. His invitation was simple, radical, and endlessly compassionate. Come home to your own mind, look clearly, let go of what binds you. Trust that awakening is possible for you here, now, no matter who you are, young or old, learned or uneducated, busy or contemplative. The seed of enlightenment is already within you. Every time you choose honesty over self-deception, kindness over cruelty, awareness over distraction, that seed is watered. Every time you pause, breathe mindfully, and see a moment for what it truly is, you are stepping into the stream that carries countless beings toward freedom. This path does not promise that life will always be smooth. Even the Buddha himself faced aging, illness, loss, and death. But awakening means that these natural experiences are no longer prisons. They are teachers, gentle reminders that everything is impermanent, that clinging brings suffering, and that letting go brings peace. You do not have to retreat to a monastery or live on a mountaintop to walk this path. Your true monastery is wherever you are right now, your home, your workplace, your family, your conversations, your own breath. These are the sacred spaces where mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom can take root. So if something in these words touches your heart, if you feel a small spark of trust that freedom is possible, please hold it gently. Protect it from the winds of doubt. Feed it with practice, reflection, and patient effort. You don't have to get everything right at once. You don't have to be perfect. You only have to be willing to come back to this moment again and again with clear eyes and an open heart. If you found this video meaningful, I invite you to subscribe to the Dharma Journey. Together, we'll continue to explore the art of meditation, the power of mindfulness, and the timeless wisdom of the Buddha's teachings, not as dry philosophy, but as living tools to help us wake up in the middle of our busy, imperfect, beautiful lives. Now I'd love to hear from you. What does enlightenment mean to you? Do you believe you can experience it in this very life? What step are you ready to take today to water the seed of awakening in your own heart? Please share your thoughts in the comments. Your reflections may inspire someone else who is walking